How you doing? My name's Steve Osborne, and I was a New York City cop for 20 years. Now, a few years back, my partner and I, we were looking for this guy called the Silver Gun Bandit. The guy was doing bank ATM stick-ups all over Manhattan South. He had done over 20 of them. He was a maniac. He was knocking them off like every other day. So finally, the chief gets pissed off, and he's like, "You guys better catch this guy, and I mean now." He'd already knocked off 2 banks on H Street, another one on University Place, and he liked the neighborhood. We go over there and we sit, and we're dressed down. We're in plain clothes. We're kind of like this. So we're sitting there, and we're working off of this police artist sketch. Now, you've seen police artist sketches on the news. Most of them are crap. You know, they look like cartoons. They really don't look like anybody. But this one was pretty good. A bunch of the victims got a really good look at the guy, and there was a lot of detail in there, so we had a really good sketch to work off of. So I take the sketch and I stick it up on the visor. And now we go to work. We're just sitting there. Every guy that comes by, we look at his face, we look at the sketch. We check out the girls going by. I could do 2 things at once. And we're just killing time. We're about 2 hours into this thing when this guy comes walking right past the front of my car. He takes one look at us, and he starts freaking out. There's panic written all over his face. I look at him, I look at the sketch. He looks exactly like the sketch. Now I'm flipping out. You know, everybody in the world is looking for this guy, and here he is. He's standing right in front of my car. So I'm telling my partner, I'm like, I think it's him. My partner's looking at his face, looking at the sketch, and he's like, I think you're right. Now, we want to jump out and we want to grab this guy, but in case he's our perp, and he's got the gun on him, he could just open up on us and, boom, boom, we'd be dead meat before we even got out of the car. So what we decide to do is we're going to let him step off just a little bit, put a little distance between us. He gets up on the curb, he walks across the sidewalk, and he goes right around the corner of the building line. I grab the sketch, I shove it in my back pocket, and we jump out of the car and we run for the corner. He's gone. He took off on us. I can't believe it. Everybody in the world was looking for this guy. We had him, and we lost him. He must have ran down to H Street and banged a left. So that's what we do. We tear ass down to H Street. Look up the block, nothing. Still no reason to panic. The guy could not have gone too far. He's got to be close by. He must have ducked into a store or a building lobby or something. So we start walking up the block. And now we're all wound up. We're ready for a gunfight. Whatever this guy wants to do, we're ready to go. We check the first store, nothing. Check the second store, nothing. We keep walking up, and there's an indoor parking garage. So we go inside, and there in the back, in the corner, in the shadows, there he is. He's hiding, he's peeking out. I'm like, okay, we got him. So we take out our shields, and we take out our guns, and we charge him. And I'm yelling at him, don't move, I'll blow you. And I added some very colorful words. That's the way we really do it. We want to scare this guy. We want him to think that he's about to die if he doesn't do exactly what he's told. And it works. Most of the time. So we run up on this guy, and I'm yelling at him, don't move, I'll blow your head off. What does he do? He falls down on the ground, he curls up into a ball, like in a fetal position, and he starts crying. Now, I have done this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. This has never happened to me before. So I'm looking at my partner. My partner's looking at me. I'm like, I don't know, maybe he's not our guy. And he's still curled up in his ball, and he's crying. He's like, please, mister, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. Please don't kill me. I'm only a dentist. So I'm leaning over, and I got my shield, and I'm like, hey, look at me. Look at me. We're the police. Relax. Nobody's going to hurt you, all right? Nobody's going to hurt you. We're the police. Stand up. So finally, I get this guy to stand up. And his knees are shaking, and his hands are shaking, his tears running down his face, his boogers coming out his nose. So there was an office there. I take him over to the office, and there was a chair. I tell him, here, sit down. You know, I give him a couple of napkins. I'm like, here, blow your nose. So I take out the sketch, and I'm looking at the sketch. And I'm like, damn, this guy looks exactly like the sketch. My partner, he's looking over my shoulder. He's like, he looks exactly like the sketch. The parking attendant comes running over. He's looking over both our shoulders, and he's like, that's him, you got him. So I'm like, all right, thanks. Thanks a lot for your help, you know. Like, I appreciate it. We got it from here. So I take the sketch and I turn it around, and I show it to him. I'm like, who's this? And he's like, he's sniffling. He goes, that looks like me. I'm like, no, looks like you. I says, now, I don't think that you're the bank robber I'm looking for. I says, but there's something going on here, and you better tell me what it is. So he goes on to tell me this story. He really was a dentist. And a couple of months back, some mafioso guy from Brooklyn brings his girlfriend to him for a little dental work. Well, I guess the Brooklyn princess took a liking to the doctor's soft, sensitive side, and he started working on more than just her teeth. If you know what I mean. I think he filled more than just her cavity. Well, the boyfriend, Vinny Bag of Donuts, he finds out about it, and he's not too happy. And he sends a message to the doctor that you better knock this stuff off or something very, very bad's gonna happen to you. And he kept seeing her. But the whole time, he's looking over his shoulder, waiting for something really, really bad to happen to him. And on that particular day, we happen to be sitting right by his building. And when he sees us, he thinks that we're two of Vinny's guys coming to do him. Now, believe it or not, I'm a little bit of a people person. So I told him, I says, hey, Doc, I says, you know, not for nothing, but you gotta weigh this out. Getting laid, getting killed. I says, it just ain't worth it. I don't care how good looking this chick is. I want you to go home, and I want you to call this girl, and I want you to tell her that you can't see her no more. This is no good for her, it's no good for Vinny, and it's definitely no good for you. And he's like, oh, I can't go through this again. I says, now go home and call her. You promise? He promised me he's gonna call her. I said, you seem like a nice guy. You know, I don't want to hear, you know, a couple weeks down the road, you end up out in the weeds in Staten Island with two in the back of your head. And he's like, oh, no, I can't do this again. So I'm like, all right, go ahead, go home. Have a nice day. You know, what else you gonna say? But as my partner and I, as we're walking back to the car, I could not believe this guy's bad luck. He looked exactly like the bank robber that we were looking for, and we looked exactly like the two guys that he imagined Vinny was gonna send to whack him. Thank you very much.